Welcome back to The Logic Dilemma, the show where we discuss current events and how sometimes thinking logically can get in the way of our feelings. More on that to come. I'm your host, American Mike, coming to you from the Purple Mountain Majesties, from sea to shining sea, America the Beautiful.
Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress. Matter of fact, as you walk into my office in the Oval Office in the United States Capitol.
Send him to Congress in his office, the Oval Office, in the Capitol building.
Look, I'm not a young guy.
You think? Well, we're getting kind of tired of this whole narrative of Biden being old, being in a state where he can't do the job. It's shocking that we put up with it. It truly is shocking. Well, welcome to our program. This is The Logic Dilemma, the smartest program on the internet and radio today. It's where we discuss politics from a logical standpoint and stop making all of our political decisions based on emotion. Well, emotion only, that is. Emotional decisions aren't a bad thing we talk about. But we definitely want to use logic in our decision making. And sometimes we lack that logic in politics. Now, Trump is out campaigning and saying a lot right now, and the media is in an uproar. Truly, they're in full spaghetti mode right now. Spaghetti mode. That means the media is throwing everything they can against the wall and hoping, just praying that something sticks. Because the more the media reports on Donald Trump, the more popular he gets. Truly, we see it. You literally can't go to any liberal-leaning news organization without seeing constant bad press on Trump. In fact, if you went to MSNBC and if you were paying attention to CNN, you wouldn't think that there was any news happening in America at all. You would think that Trump was the only thing happening in America. He's completely consuming the media. Now, why is that? Well, honestly, you want to know a secret? That's what he wants. See, Trump is so much smarter than everyone gives him credit for. He is. Very smart. Because the more he says, the more the media reports, and he is getting free press. His supporters are never going to turn on him. No matter how bad it gets in the media, his supporters will only become stronger because he looks like a martyr. The media and all of these indictments and cases against him are making him out to be a martyr. Honestly, if the media wanted Trump to fall in the polls, they'd shut up. I'm not joking. Just stop reporting on him. But they can't. He's in their heads. Well, he's smarter than all of you. You know, Michael Moore agrees with me. Do you all remember Michael Moore? He's that old middle school band teacher looking guy who looks like he washcloth bathes in his car before class. We always forget this guy even exists until right before a presidential election. Every time right before an election, Michael Moore makes an appearance in the news. He says something or does something, and we go, oh, yeah, that's right, Michael Moore. He wears a hat. I think he's made a couple of movies. One of them was about a medical. I'm not 100%. I'm not a fan of Michael Moore, but one of his movies was about medical care being better in Cuba than America. Right. Well, since I've heard of, well, let's see. Let me count. All right, hold on. Let me do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. So I have heard of, it looks like a total of 0 people traveling to Cuba to have surgeries done. Anyway, Michael Moore, he agrees with me. He says Trump is smart. He says, we don't want to say this out loud, but I'm going to say it. And the reason why we need to be concerned is that Trump is smarter than us. The Oscar-winning documentarian. Oh, Oscar-winning? Did he wear his baseball cap to the Oscars? I'll just let that sink in for a second. You know, I know. You're calling. This is still a quote from Michael Moore. I know. You're calling the people to come find me. The guys in the white uniforms with the big net. Michael Moore. Anyway, he continues, and take me away. Are you crazy? What did you mean he's smarter than us? I'm talking about the way, and again, quote, I'm talking about the way throughout his entire life he's been able to pull, and I quote, shit off and get away with it. I know this is a clean show, but I'm quoting him. It is an amazing record. You know the record. I'm not going to run through the whole litany of it. You know the whole list, and he's gotten away with it. Has he? Has Trump gotten away with it? What has Trump actually gotten away with? Has Trump gotten away with people accusing him of things? Yeah. I mean, you can accuse anyone of anything. And he hasn't gotten away with anything. He's been found innocent on most everything he's been accused of. And those that he has been found guilty of, and this is me speaking, not Michael Moore, but those that he has been found guilty of, such as the fraud case in New York City. Well, that's a ridiculous case. That's because of that clown judge that we have running the show. Judge Smiley, smile for the camera. Ingram. He's a clown. We allowed one man to make that judgment call that would hurt Trump and hurt his business and affect the way he does business. But Trump is smart. I agree with Michael Moore. Michael Moore agrees with me. Trump is smart. He knows what he's doing. The following is Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary is the Shark Tank guy, the cool guy on Shark Tank, the one that, you know, he's Mr. Wonderful. Listen to what he has to say.
Trump has done something no one's ever done before. I'm not saying it's good or bad. He has sucked the oxygen out of the room for every competitor he has, including Nikki Haley. Even Biden doesn't get as much network time as he's getting now. This is extraordinary. If you actually look at the data, he's getting about 80% of the unpaid media. I mean, I don't know if you want to call that genius, but that's millions of dollars of free network time. It's all Trump all day long, every single second. And here we are, more Trump now. This is a case that's hardly consequential to the outcome of the country on policy. And frankly, many people like me say, who cares? But every second is Trump. That's the genius of this.
And it is. He's exactly right. It is genius. Well, this show is about being logical. And I like logic. I like being logical. And so sometimes we make fun of Democrats because, you know, the logical thought process of Democrats. I mean, just look at, they love Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Well, that's not logical. They're terrible. We all know they're terrible. But so we make fun of Democrats a lot, but to be fully logical on this program and to be the smartest program on the internet today, we also must address the issues that we have with Trump. Because it's true. We're not 100% for Trump because there are some issues. Let me discuss one for a second. You know that, and this was reported by a lot of different reports. And quite frankly, it is a red flag in my mind. Truly is. Trump has not been endorsed by many of his cabinet. Not just one or two. Those who served with him during his presidency, only four people have endorsed him. Now, how many have not endorsed him? Upwards of between 25 and 30 individuals have not endorsed him, including Mike Pence. Some of the others on the list are his Attorney General, the first Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, his second Secretary of Defense, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, second National Security Advisor, third National Security Advisor, and the list goes on and on. Now, I would not be a logical thinker if I didn't say that this bothers me. It does. But the truth is, Trump doesn't actually play well with others. And, you know, it's interesting. He comes into the White House with a CEO mentality. And he's in charge, and what he says goes. But there are a lot of people in the cabinet who also want a say in how the country's run and the decisions that are made. And they get pretty hurt when they're not able to. And the moment they start to push back, we all know this about Trump, okay? The moment you push back against Trump, he'll come at you. And he'll come at you hard. He'll make fun of you and pretty much hurt your feelings. And I look across all of this and the things that he has said about some of these people. Sometimes they started it. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes Trump starts it. But he has definitely said some things about all of these people that they take offense to. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because I believe that this can be fixed. Can you imagine if Trump could take the following he has and somehow work on some of the interactions he has with other people, and especially the people he works with, and starts to command more respect of those around him, take his intelligence, because he is smart, and don't tell me he's not. Take his intelligence and the way that he's able to play the other side, the way that he's able to play them all the livelong day, he just has the media eating out of his hand. He was able to take that and then also work on his relationships with those closest to him. He would be unstoppable. Now, I've met a lot of people. I live next to a retired general, and I won't say his name, but he's a retired 4-star general. He was instrumental in a lot of Desert Storm, and he was incredible. And he has worked with a lot of different presidents, all the way through George W. Bush. Now, he retired, but he still had the opportunity to sit down with each of the presidents. And he said at one point, one day, Trump on a campaign stop wanted to talk to him and sat down with him. And the schedule was tight. And this general said that everyone was telling Trump that he had only a couple minutes. And he told them to basically go away. I am going to focus on this individual, this retired general. He said that the way he had never worked with a president ever that gave him, not a sitting president, not a president completed, not a candidate for president. He had never sat with anyone who gave him the attention that Trump gave him. He sat knee to knee, eye contact, and asked all these stories that he has as he served as the general. He said Trump was the most engaging man and president he had ever spoken to. Very kind man. You see, the truth is, Trump is a kind man. Unless you go against him. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go against Donald Trump or else you'll pay. I'm just saying that's something that I hope Trump works on. Gaining the respect of people who disagree with him. Because right now, anyone who disagrees with Donald Trump ends up hating the man. Hating him with a fiery passion. Remember Mitt Romney? Well, he's currently serving as a senator. Mitt Romney fell into this same category. And it's interesting. Mitt Romney, here's what Mitt Romney has to say.
It's not the shining city on a hill. It's now an isolated island. There's some things, by the way, Donald Trump does better than Joe Biden a lot. Joe Biden has made extraordinary mistakes on the immigration front. It's embarrassing how bad he's been.
Yeah, I know you care deeply about the border, and
So he's made it terrible. And Donald Trump did a lot of smart things when he was president. On the foreign policy front, it would be a dramatic departure from our posture over the last 75 or 80 years. That, by the way, has not only kept us safe and free from attack, but has also allowed us to build an extraordinarily strong economy and have a income per person in America about a third higher than people in Europe.
But can I just ask, I think that those comments there may raise some questions for people watching at home. Would you vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden?
No, absolutely not. I mean, for me, there are two factors in deciding who I want to have as the leader of my country and the person who is the example of the president for my kids and my grandkids. One is their position on policies. And on foreign policy, I'm not aligned with Donald Trump, at least as I understand his policy. On domestic policy, yeah, I align with many of his domestic policies. But there's another dimension besides policy, and that's character. And I think what America is as a nation, what has allowed us to be the most powerful nation on earth and the leader of the earth, is the character of the people who have been our leaders, past presidents, but also mothers, fathers, church leaders, university presidents, and so forth. Having a president who is so defaulted of character would have an enormous impact on the character of America. And for me, that's the primary consideration.
So why? First off, let's break this down a little bit. There's one thing we can all agree on, and that is Biden has been a terrible failure. But he mentions Trump's foreign policy. Now, I have to say, Trump's foreign policy was great. Remember, Trump is the one that had everybody at the table in the Middle East. No other president has been able to accomplish that. His domestic policy is sound. He wants to close the border. That was what he ran on. That was what he worked for. That's what he raised the money for in Congress. They passed bills, and they did what they needed to do to build the wall. Remember how everyone was so against Trump building the wall? Well, that was part of his domestic policy. The fact that we were going to crack down on illegal immigration. Obviously, since then, no one cares about illegal immigration. And in a previous podcast that we have, we mentioned the fact that all of the border policies from Trump were rescinded, not because the Democrats want votes. There's no way you can get enough people to vote to cover the amount of votes that you would lose from the American people. All of those immigration policies that were rescinded with the Biden administration were out of spite. That was it. They just didn't want Trump's fingerprints on any of their stuff. So now we have the worst immigration in the history of our country. Well, all because of spite. That was a previous podcast that we had. It was labeled Border. What border? Anyway, back to Romney. Remember that Romney endorsed Trump before. And Romney wanted to work for Trump. Do you remember this? When Trump was elected to the presidency the first time, Romney applied for the job of Secretary of State. He traveled to meet with Trump, and he wanted the job. He wanted to work with Trump. Trump eventually turned him down, and in Trump fashion, the best way that Trump knows how, he let it be known that Romney was never really in the running. Now, ever since then, Mitt Romney, has had his feelings hurt. Every time a vote came up for an impeachment, Romney was the first Republican to vote, including that ridiculous. Both impeachments were ridiculous. It was just Democrats trying to get Trump. It's what they've done. It's what they've done from the beginning. It's what has made Trump so popular. But the first impeachment, ridiculous. And here's Romney with a couple of other Republicans. And then you have the second impeachment. Romney was the only Republican to vote to impeach Trump after January 6th. Now, we've talked about January 6th. Yeah, Trump was unhappy with the results of the election, told everyone to fight, but he also told everyone to use peace. So, obviously, the second he used the word peace, all violence at the Capitol rested squarely upon the shoulders of those who caused it. Now, Trump likes to dig at the media, and he does this on purpose, everyone. All of you media people listening to this, the media outlets listening to this, he's playing you. Every time he is at his rallies and he's talking about the hostages of the political hostages of January 6th, all he's doing is getting free press. That's what he's doing. He's playing all of you. It's genius. So Romney, back to Romney. Sorry, I keep getting off on tangents, but back to Romney. Romney had his feelings hurt. When I look down through this list of Republicans, of former cabinet members that worked with Trump that have now refused to endorse him, I see a bunch of crybabies. A bunch of crybabies. Mike Pence. You know that Mike Pence, when he announced his presidency to run for president, and he started in those debates and he was all excited because he figured, well, if Trump doesn't make it through, who's the next best to make it through? Well, obviously me, because I was the vice president. So if Trump doesn't make it, it's going to go to me, of course. Well, in one of the debates, he promised that he would endorse Trump no matter what. If Trump became, and even if he was charged with a crime, they asked him, will you endorse Trump? Will you pledge right now to endorse Trump even if he's convicted of a crime? And Mike Pence said, yes, absolutely, I will. What was he doing then? Why would he endorse Trump? Well, that's because he needed Trump's voters. In the event that Trump wasn't able to run, Mike Pence wanted his voters. So he would have said anything. He would have said literally anything to get those voters. So yes, I pledge to vote for, Mike Pence. I love the guy. He's actually, I feel like he's a good guy. The most boring man ever in politics, but I feel like he's a good guy. But here he is saying, well, yes, I pledge to endorse Trump no matter what. Now, fast forward to today. Mike Pence realized very early on, before pretty much any of the other candidates, that no one wants him. No one's interested in a Mike Pence presidency. So all of a sudden, Mike Pence has his feelings hurt. And so he's not going to endorse Trump anymore. Again, all of these cabinet members, I see people who have had their feelings hurt. Now, this is what I'm saying. I know that Trump needs to, I wish that he would work on that. Because his policies are great. Lowering taxes for business so that they can thrive. That's what builds jobs. We've talked about that before. It builds jobs. And we talked about exactly how that happens. Taxing the rich, it only kills jobs. We've discussed exactly how that happens. But one thing I wish Trump would work on is treating people a little bit better, even if they are against you. Because once you're against Trump, you know it. He lets you know it. Once you are not working for him or you're not working with him, he lets you know it. And all of these people have had their feelings hurt. Bunch of crybabies that would rather the country go to ridiculous Democrats, than to admit that Trump hurt my feelings. I'd rather see the country go to Democrats. It's ridiculous. You know what a rhino is? This is very interesting. A rhino it's RINO. A rhino stands for Republican in name only. This is a name that people use to describe someone who you never know what you're going to get. You never know if they're going to vote Democrat or Republican. And most of the time they vote Democrat, and it's incredibly annoying. And sometimes they side with the Democrats. We don't want you to side with the Democrats. Honestly, none of what they do is logically makes sense. So we don't want any climate bills that we're spending money for, that money's getting siphoned through different countries and for nothing. It's literally for nothing. We don't want a bunch of bills for EV cars or EVs, electric vehicles, and all that money just gets funneled out through people's pockets. Never gets to where it needs to go. You see, we don't want Washington Democrat policies. In a previous episode of our show, we discussed the differences between the everyday liberal American that means well and who has a good heart, and the Washington Democrat. They're completely different individuals. The Washington Democrat exploits the feelings and fears of the everyday liberal to get what they want, to gain power, to gain money. You just look. I mean, even our that ridiculous bill that they supposedly need to close the border down. It's no good. They're just trying to tack on all of these things that they want and then blaming Republicans because we don't want to give it to them. All we want to do is close the border. Let's just do that, but they won't. They want all this other stuff with it. That's why they're trying to do it by bill. You see, that's why Trump doesn't want that bill. He doesn't want to close the border that way. He wants to close the border just by closing the border because it's constitutional to keep our border secure. It's actually the duty of the president, and he can do so without a bill. But they need the bill so that they can get all of that extra stuff that they've tacked onto it. We don't want to close the border if we're just also giving you a bunch of garbage with it. Anyway, back to rhinos. You know, a rhino is a Republican in name only. Have you ever heard the term dino? A Democrat in name only? No. Why is that? Why do we never hear of Democrats in name only? I look at this list and I think, this list of all of these cabinet members, 22, 23, 24 cabinet members that worked with Donald Trump, who are refusing to endorse him because I got my feelings hurt. And one of the things that I think of is that the Democrats have us beat in that area. Have you ever noticed? The Democrats stick together. They do. Liberal Democrats and Washington Democrats stick together. Look at them. Look at them right now. They have an absolute clown as the president and a vice president who has done nothing. Literally nothing. So you take those individuals and all Democrats are still standing behind them saying how great they are, even though we see it every day that they're not. And Biden has made some incredible errors with Afghanistan, with all of the wars that we're seeing now because of his weakness, the open borders, the just absolute catastrophe on our southern border. And yet the Democrats stick together. Why can't the Republicans do that? No matter what happens, the Democrats are always together. But the Republicans don't do that. That's why we have the term rhino. There isn't an equivalent on the Democrat side. Because they have us beat in unity every single time. Why? They stand behind each other through the worst of the worst. And I'm telling you right now, I know because we saw it with Trump, and Trump was actually really good. The economy was good. Job creation was good. Inflation was down. These are all things that Biden has blown up. Nowadays, they'll sit there, the Biden administration will tell you, oh, we lowered inflation by 2.5%. Okay. If they say that, that's because they're lowering it from the 17% they raised it since they've been in office. They're just using numbers to try to make you think they're doing well. See, Trump did well, and the Republicans turned on him. Can you imagine if Trump was as bad as Biden? Oh, they'd eat him alive. Even the Republicans would eat him alive. Let's play our little game. Let's change Biden's little Democrat D to R. Not only is he unfit now to be the president because he's a Republican, he would, in his current state, if he was Republican, he would be unfit. He'd be out of office right now. He'd be unfit. Because the Republicans would never stand behind him. For some reason, the Republicans have this incredible ability to eat their own. And I don't get it. So going back to this list, going back to Romney, you got your feelings hurt. Move on. Move on, and let's be normal people who logically stand with each other so that we can have a leader in the White House that's, number one, not being controlled by anyone, which is what the American people want. That's another reason why Trump is so popular. We're sick and tired of something, somewhere, some entity controlling the president. We love that Trump is his own man. Get together. Stand together. Move on from your stupid hurt feelings and stop eating each other because it's killing us. Anyway, rhinos. We don't talk very much about an equivalent on the Democrat side? I don't know. Now, the Democrats are still attacking Trump. It's what he wants. Like going back to what I was saying, it's what he wants. He baits the media. It's hilarious that they fall for it every time. He'll say things and they'll jump on it like and all of a sudden he has free 80% coverage. It's incredible that the media falls for this. Anyway, Trump, he's rolling, you guys. I just love it. One of the things that he said recently is that it's going to be a bloodbath if he's not elected. And the media jumped all over it. Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath. Trump said it's going to be a bloodbath. Now, what they're picturing is war. Civil war. Something like we're all fighting with each other. We're all killing each other. That's what they're picturing when Trump mentions bloodbath. That's how they report it. He wants a bloodbath. If he's not elected, he's going to lead everybody in war. Is that what he meant? No, it's not. But we have people like Nancy Pelosi's skeleton out there talking. Here's Nancy Pelosi's skeleton on the news.
But I want to ask about the idea that Donald Trump is now the presumptive Republican nominee for president. U.S. intelligence agencies are reportedly preparing to share classified briefings with him. You're, of course, a former ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, Speaker of the House. Should Donald Trump receive intelligence briefings?
Here comes Nancy Pelosi's skeleton.
You know, I have 30 years of intelligence experience in the Congress. This information is very important, and it is important for it not to be shared. So I would hope they would get some commitment from him, as they do from all of us when we get briefed, that they understand the importance of this information and that it not be shared. The experience has not been positive with him, but hopefully those advising him would say, grow up, live up to your responsibilities. Don't share this with the Russian foreign minister, as he did in the Oval Office before. But we just have to win this election, because he's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about? Praising Hitler, praising the Russians, honestly, condemning our soldiers for losing or dying in war or being captured in war. He said, what's wrong with Russia? They defeated Hitler. What about the millions of Americans who risked or gave their lives? What about him saying that soldiers buried in Europe, he didn't want to visit them because they were losers? There's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. So I just say, with all the respect in the world for voters and their right to make their decision, weigh these equities. How much are you concerned about more women, or women having the right to choose, or LGBT people having the right to their lives, that you would vote for him?
Okay.
You wouldn't even allow him in your house, much less in the White House. So in any event, yes, I think he should get the information, but because he is a candidate for president, but he should be held to a standard that the rest of us all have been.
Okay.
So Nancy Pelosi's skeleton is talking. And keep in mind, Nancy Pelosi no longer exists. It's her skeleton that is talking. In fact, I have to hand it to the... I do. I have to hand it to the guys that are controlling her like Weekend at Bernie's. I have to hand it to them. They're doing a great job. She looks lively. Obviously, you can tell that she's passed. But Nancy Pelosi's skeleton is saying, yes, he needs the intelligence briefings, sure. but he needs to be held to a higher standard. Keep in mind, you're talking about a guy that has been the president. He never shared information with Russia. We went through how much Russia. I'm sorry. This is how many investigations did we do of Trump and Russia? And they found it was all a hoax. All of it. Him talking to Russia, him dealing with Russia, him sharing secrets with Russia. Are we going to do this again? Are we going to come full circle and start talking about Russia again? It's ridiculous. Anyway, so she says, oh yeah, he wants to be, he wants to be a dictator. He wants to do this. He wants to, and the bloodbath. There's going to be a bloodbath. Man. Let's hear what Trump said so that we can put it into context as to why he was talking about a bloodbath. Was he talking about war among the Americans? Absolutely not. He was not.
China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine, all he does is build car manufacturing plants. He's the biggest in the world. I mean, honestly, I joke about it. He can't walk across the street, and that way he's like Biden. But for building a plant, he can do the greatest.
Okay, so he always likes to poke at Biden. And Biden's inability to actually walk around. It's true. He can't find his way off a stage. He never can. Anyway, so Trump and the bloodbath. Is he talking about war? No. He's talking about the fact that if we get all of those jobs out of the country, the bloodbath will be the lost jobs and our economy will go in the tank. That's what he's talking about. It's going to be a bloodbath of jobs going across to other countries and jobs being lost for the American people. Now, if he is elected, then those jobs will stay in America and he'll see to it that they do. Now, that's something that Biden doesn't talk about. Something that Biden doesn't do. Remember, Trump works with businesses to create jobs. Democrats feel like government creates jobs. Government doesn't create jobs. They don't. No matter how much money you funnel to the government, no matter how much money they steal from the American people, they will never create a single job. They may create tasks. That's what they do. They create tasks. When I was a boy, I remember I was in the mountains and we were driving along. We saw big piles of wood. And I remember asking my father, what are these big piles of wood? He said, it's probably piles of wood from when Jimmy Carter was president. And they would find jobs, or I can't even call it jobs. It's just tasks. People get paid to perform certain tasks. And one of them was stacking wood. Now, we don't know if that's exactly what these were for, but that was kind of a joke that he was bringing up, that there were so many tasks like this that they think that Democrats think that creating tasks for people, just giving them something to do for money temporarily, is creating jobs. And they count it for that month as a job statistic. This task that they give them to do. Oh, yeah, why don't you go out in the forest and stack some dead trees? Do that for a couple of weeks. We'll pay you for it. Oh, why are we stacking them? Oh, don't worry about that. You just go do it. Those are the kinds of tasks the government can create. But jobs and careers, it's impossible for the government to create jobs and careers. They can only create temporary tasks. Anyway, going back to Nancy Pelosi, her skeleton talking. You know, what's interesting, she also said you wouldn't allow him in your home. Trump, and you can hear people laughing in the background when she says that. You can hear people laughing in the background. Nobody asked you to be Trump's BFF, okay? All of you haters out there, no one asked you to be his BFF. All we're looking for is to move forward as a country. That's it. You're not going to have him in your home. And compared to, if I was to pick whether or not I wanted a politician in my home, would I have Trump in my home? I don't know. He's said some disparaging remarks about women at times in the past. Things that I don't agree with. But keep in mind, you know who else has said some things that they probably wouldn't want to get out? Me. We all have. We've all said things in the past when we knew we weren't being listened to, or we're saying stupid crap with friends, and everybody's done this. Just so happens that Trump was being recorded. So, yeah, I don't necessarily like the way that he has spoke on women before. But would I allow Biden in my home? I can tell you, I wouldn't allow Biden near any of my daughters. None of them. I would have them stand so clear of him. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the touching, the smelling, the sniffing, you've all heard this. It's real. We're not making this up. It's real. He's the creepiest old man I've ever seen. And now, just watch. If there's a little girl, if there's a baby, he starts to go toward him. Watch his team descend and turn his attention away from the little girl. Watch it. Anyway, I'm not making this up. Just go look up Biden touching girls. You'll have your eyes open. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you think I'm lying, then you haven't been paying attention. So Pelosi, you wouldn't allow him in your house. Well, I don't know if there's any politician I'd allow in my house. Nancy Pelosi's skeleton. So I definitely wouldn't allow her skeleton to be marched into my house. Weekend at Bernie's style. It's difficult to watch all of this. To watch them hate on Trump like this. Because what's hard about it is going back to what I was saying about Rinos. See, we have enough attacks from the left. We don't need it from the right, too. If you want to find something negative on Trump, you'll find it. If you want to find something bad, you'll find it. But guess what? If you want to find something good, you'll also find that. And you will find more good with Trump than you will bad. I know that a lot of Democrats will scoff at that and say, oh, no, he's bad. He's got a 40 million indictments and 80 million arrests and he's, no. He has done very little wrong. We have enough attacks from the left. We don't need it on the right from these rhinos who just are butthurt because Trump was mean to him, like Romney. We all know. You were pretty mad about the Secretary of State stuff, Romney. It really bothered you. Anyway, is he going to have a bloodbath? No, the bloodbath will be lost jobs. And he plays the media. I just love it. I love the way that he can talk and then fill the media up. And it's beautiful the way he does it. And the liberal media falls for it. They pounce all over him. They jump all over him. But the funny thing is if they try to ignore him, like what MSNBC did about not airing his speech winning from the Iowa caucuses, it just ends up on social media and it's shared and liked 100,000 times. There's no way out of it. If they ignore Trump, it's all over social media. If they report on him, it's all over their news. No matter what they do, Trump is front and center. And he's far outweighs the coverage that Biden gets. Now, in the end, will it matter? I don't know. We'll see. I can't wait for the day that we're able to see. The day that we're able to say, let's go vote. Whether you vote for Trump or Biden, it'll be a good day in America. And we need to be positive about it. One thing's for sure, though. And I'm saying this absolutely, if there are people who want kind of planning to cheat, you had your chance with Biden. You're not going to get another one. Everyone will be watching this time. And it doesn't work. The minute we start cheating on elections, the only way back from that is war. Just remember that. Now, I'm a positive person. I like to be positive. I want everybody to be happy. But we have a lot of big choices to make this year. Do we want to continue moving forward as a country? Or do we want to fall back? You see what Donald Trump talks about? He talks about job creation. He talks about economy. He talks about making sure that money stays with the middle class. Money stays, that they're able to get what they need. That our inflation drops. All of these things. But in our last clip, Nancy Pelosi, she talked about their future, the Democrat future. Are women going to be able to murder their babies in the womb? And are we going to be nice to the gay community? Those are the choices between a sound economy and progressive ideas, such as LGBTQ, however many letters you want to add after that. And on that terrible note, I am leaving you today. Be sure to like, subscribe. I am American Mike for the Logic Dilemma. I really appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you next time.